Hey guys, this is my second attempt at trying to get these videos posted. I'm trying a little bit of a different format here, and I'm also recording in a different location because I was having internet problems up in my main office. We are going to go through chapters 5, 6, and 7. This video will just be over chapter 5. So I recommend that you take notes or at least have the email available to where you can be answering the questions that I asked for this quiz. Now, right now, I'm requiring two things. First of all, I'm requiring that you watch the video, which I'm going to just take your word that you're going to do that. You are going to send me a personal email telling me that you have viewed the video. Then a separate email, that means you're going to send me two emails. A separate email will need to contain your quizzes, and you can send all three of those in together at one time. Or you can do those individually and send them to me in increments. That's fine. Whatever you decide to do. You're going to have until March the 20th, which is a long time to forget this. But you're going to have until March 20th. That is the goal to get us back in school. I don't know if that's actually when we're going to be back in school, but that's the date. I said March. I meant April 20th. Apologize. April the 20th is the goal that they've set to try to get back in school. Again, I don't know if that is actually when we'll be back, but it doesn't matter because that's when your email will be due. You will have had to have watched all three of these videos. Now, don't put these off because it's going to take you a little bit of time to do the individual quizzes. Those are all for quiz grades. We're in Chapter 5 today. I'm going to try to summarize this best that I can to give you all the information that you need to know. So let's go ahead and get started on that. First of all, Chapter 5, the theme that you're going to see throughout the rest of this book, and you're going to see it over and over again throughout Chapter 5, is that it is our government was designed as a limited government. Our forefathers put all of these things together trying to limit our government, and it's easy to understand why. They were under the rule of a monarchy, of a king, of governors that ruled them like kings. So our forefathers did not appreciate that, did not want that type of government. We're going to talk about that more in the next chapter when we talk about the American presidents. But for all intents and purposes, that is the theme. Now, this chapter is going to cover the idea behind Congress. First of all, Congress is broken up into two houses. You've got the Senate and you've got the House of Representatives. And I know some of this is going to be review for you all, but I want to make sure that you have all of this information available to you. So in the idea behind these two separate houses is, again, it was to create a check and balance. So you had not one ruling party or one ruling part of government running everything. So these two houses checked on each other while at the same time crafted laws that would best represent the interests of the people in the states. Now, I think we've talked about this before. Senators, the Senate, those are called senators. And in the House of Representatives, we usually call this congressmen or congresswomen. That can be a little confusing for people because we're talking about Congress as a whole for both of these houses, but usually we refer to people who are in the House of Representatives as congressmen or congresswomen. So again, need to know about the two separate houses. Again, I'm going to assume that none of you all have your textbooks. If you do have them, great. That'll help you answer the questions for these quizzes. But if you don't, that's fine. You can rely on these videos, and I'm trusting that you'll use whatever resources you need to use, including internet websites. Be really careful to make sure that those websites are legitimate, that they have correct information, as I've told you guys before. Let's talk first about the House of Representatives. There are 435 members. They are elected to 2-year terms, which means that we elect these every 2 years. One of these is just getting ready to come up. So House of Representatives. I feel like there was something else I want to make sure you guys knew. The first Congress in the United States had 65 representatives, but by 1912, that number had jumped up quite a bit to 435. And that's the cap of it today, that 435 is what we're sitting at today, that has been capped at that number, and so on. And again, you can look this up online, but it's all based on population. The House of Representatives is exactly that. It's meant to be representative of the the census. Now, we discover this by, of course, taking a census. A census takes place every 10 years. Every year, basically, that ends with a 0, which is why your parents probably have just recently received a census letter that they will eventually mail out and send to the government to let them know exactly populations and things like that. And that's how they decide the numbers for the House of Representatives. I think I talked a little bit in class about gerrymandering, and you might want to look up that term. Gerrymandering is basically it's when state legislature draws its district boundaries so as to purposely favor the party in power. So, for instance, if you are the Republican or Democratic Party of a state, you might use gerrymandering to try to strengthen your core, strengthen the ability to maintain your political power, which is why you'll see maps of districts that won't make any sense to any human being. But it makes a lot of sense to a senator or to a congressman who's trying to, a congressman, a member of the House of Representatives, who's trying to maintain their level of power and control. Now let's talk a little bit about the upper house, which we call, of course, the Senate. Excuse me. So the Senate is, like I said, it's the upper house. Founding fathers, intended for this, for the Senate to originally be the main power of government. It was thought that our presidents would come out of the Senate. These were considered these were the ones that people wanted to be in power the longest. They served for 6 years. There was some debate early on about, okay, well, maybe they should serve longer than that. Maybe they should have lifetime appointments. Also, for a really long time, these were not actually voted on by the American people. They were representatives who were basically chosen by state legislatures, and then they would be put into these positions of authority. Now that changed. Rather than the states appointing these and assigning these representatives based on the state, that changed in 1913 with the 17th Amendment. And you do need to make note of that. The 17th Amendment changed a lot of things for that, basically making it to where the senators, like the House of Representatives, like the president, that they would be elected on by the people. All right, so there are a few requirements, and I don't expect you to necessarily have all these memorized for the rest of your life, but I do want you to hear me say this, and it may be on the quiz. All the citizens who are elected, or I should say, congressional elections. Today, all citizens of the United States 18 years of age or older are eligible to vote for senators and representatives. And all that means is that once you're 18, you can vote for all of these people. The Constitution requires that elected members of Congress meet 3 qualifications. So the 3 qualifications are: you have to meet a certain age, you have to be have the proper citizenship, and of course you have to be a resident of that state. And both of these differ a little bit based on the Senate and the House. So, for instance, a member of the House must be at least 25 years old. For a senator, they have to be 30 years old. Let's see here. For the House, you have to be a U.S. citizen for at least 7 years, and for the Senate, that was 9 years. And then for both the House and the Senate, one must be a resident of the state from which he is chosen, meaning that you have to be from that state. You guys may remember, or maybe you're too young, I don't know, Rand Paul, when he first ran for Senate, there was some debate there about whether or not he was an actual resident here. Of course, he does have a residency here. He was a doctor. He is a doctor here. But I remember there was a campaign ad talking about how he spent a majority of his time not in the state of Kentucky, but in, I can't remember if it was New York or Massachusetts or whatever. And so that was one of the criticisms on that, was that he wasn't really a resident here. So when you look at, and I'm not trying to tell you guys everything in this book. I'm just trying to break down the things that I think you definitely need to know. Of course, the majority party is the party with the most members in the House. There are some different roles that you need to understand. You need to understand and know who the Speaker of the House is. You need to know who the President of the Senate is. And of course, the President of the Senate, for those of you who don't remember, who don't know, that is the Vice President. So the Vice President actually serves as a tiebreaker vote in the Senate. So that's what President or Vice President Pence, it's his responsibility to do that, to preside over the Senate. All right, I think that pretty much covers everything that I need you all to know for this chapter. Now, there might be some more additional questions that you might have based on the quizzes, and feel free to shoot me an email, and I can help you out with that. Otherwise, of course, you can find all your information online. Like I said, you can watch these videos and answer these quizzes at your own leisure. But like I said, I would recommend you knocking them out sooner rather than later. I think, let me just kind of make sure I'm going through all this to make sure that I've covered everything that you need to know. You might want to go back and review. Oh, there is one other thing. I can't believe I forgot this. So you need to understand how a bill becomes a law. Now, there's lots of videos on this that break this down. I recommend, if you want to go back and watch that old YouTube video, the one I showed in class of Schoolhouse Rock, just to kind of refresh your memory on it. Basically, it just goes through the process of a bill is first drafted. Now, we'll talk a little bit later on about how presidents actually can have some influence on this, about what bills are drafted. But it's introduced by a senator or a congressman, and then the bill has may be written by basically anyone. It is introduced. Most bills can be introduced in either the House. Money bills must originate in the House of Representatives. It's read by title, it's numbered, it's registered, and it's printed. And you guys remember when when the former congressman came and visited us about a month ago, how he showed us what that looks like. So you guys got that unique opportunity to actually hold one in your hands and see what they look like. It's referred to by a committee. It's referred to a subcommittee. It's reported by a full committee, reported to the whole House, acted upon by the entire House, acted upon by the opposite House, and it's examined by the conference committee, and then, of course, it's delivered to the president. And the president will decide whether or not to sign that bill or to veto that bill. And then there's a whole process about if he does veto that bill, what does that mean? Can that bill still be passed? Like I said, I can give you all more details on this, but I'm trying to keep these videos as short and as useful as possible. You can Google how a bill becomes a law and find out all the details of that to help you answer that particular question on your quiz. All right, guys, thank you all so much. I will post the other two videos in back-to-back order, so you guys will get to hear this and hear my my regular voice, and I'll just try to get all those posted at the same time. All right, thanks, guys.